The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
Previously on Power Rangers, Void Knight stole Dr. Iguana. Dr. Iguana. That's, she has the hands. Not like a chameleon, iguanas and chameleons are different. So she has like the hands, and the tail. Iguana tail whip can tear you up. I'm gonna stop this tangent now. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to Just the Facts on episode 21 of Dino Fury, the first season's finale, Void Trap.
Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, and make sure you got your notifications set up by hitting that little bell icon.
Right you. What he said was, you can consider checking us out on Patreon or Ko-fi at Orange Ranger Videos.
Don't worry, I'll explain the whole finale thing later. Previously on Power Rangers, Void Knight stole all of Dr. Akana's equipment, except not really, that has the ability to channel the morphing grid. For most people watching this episode, it happened 5 minutes prior to this previously on segment. The Rangers talk about why Void Knight would do this and continue to thoroughly confuse their own timeline. It is now apparently March, and they figure out that he wants the grid's power for energy. So, as I just hinted at, Void Knight did not get all of the equipment. It's time to talk electronics once again, as the capacitor was left behind and damaged. The Rangers hatch a plan to rig the thing to explode. But a crucial part of this plan is having Void Knight actually come and steal the thing back, and apparently a critical part of that is having him steal it directly from Dr. Akana.
What are you talking about?
There is absolutely no reason to place Dr. Akana in jeopardy. Have the Rangers do a little story interview on Buzz Blast. By the way, no Jane Borg in this episode, thanks Zordon. Where they talk about having the capacitor and needing to keep it safe. Maybe they're going to store it in a nearby bank vault. Void Knight goes to get it and wham, there you go. However, it was critical in this finale episode for us to force in a moral of the day about letting people make their own decisions. So the Rangers ask Dr. Akana, and she agrees to help them. At Area 62, Boom Tower is revived by Regal, once again, in order to use up more stock footage. Void Knight sees the missing capacitor and has everyone go to look for it. Meanwhile, he goes and talks to his wife. It turns out her name is Santora, and that sounds like an alien. Later, the unmorphed Rangers watch Dr. Akana walking with the part and loudly talking about it. The villains show up and Void Knight snatches it away, but whoops! The villains also kidnap Dr. Akana for no real explainable reason. Actually, Regal pulls a very confusing betrayal here, sending her and Mucus and Slither to the Dark Dimension, calling the two of them annoying, and then diving right in immediately after them. Ollie is of course mad at Zato since his mom is in danger, but Zato does what I think any calm, level-headed Red Ranger would do. He morphs, summons his Zord and the two new Raptor Zords, combines them for the first time, combines all three of them for the first time into the T-Rex Cosmic Megazord, uses that to open a giant portal to the Dark Dimension, and flies to the Dark Dimension in a Megazord.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Meanwhile, the other Rangers morph and chase Boom Tower to a Japanese auditorium and fight. They get beaten around a bit while Zato deals with a Regal that has grown to giant size because the Dark Dimension has side effects that you should ask your doctor about. Zato comes out on top, saving Dr. Akana, while the other Rangers toss their Fury powers to Amelia, who uses them to destroy Boom Tower. Again.
Deja vu, I just been in this place before.
The explosion throws them around and dazes them, and Void Knight takes the opportunity to capture them with sleepy cuffs, though Ollie is able to dodge out of the way just in time. Void Knight takes the four Rangers to Dino Henge and straps them to Santora's machine and starts channeling morphing grid energy through their bodies into the machine to try and revive her. Zato catches up and tries distracting Void Knight so Ollie can go and take the capacitor. The only problem with this plan is that Ollie does not go and take the capacitor, and Zato's terrible decision to use the questionably unfunctional Dino daggers gets him captured. Questionably unfunctional is not what I was going for. Hilariously unhelpful would be better. His mom offers another shot at this plan, with her providing the distraction this time. He tries to refuse, but she beats him over the head with the episode's moral. It's her life, it's her decision. They hatch a completely different plan. If you can't yank the capacitor, why you can't yank the capacitor is never explained, then destroy the battery. She runs out and whacks Void Knight with a big stick. He punches her about 50 feet back, so yeah, she's dead, and then pulls out his sword to slice her up. But then Ollie springs out and destroys the Dino Henge statues. The machine shuts down, saving the Rangers. However, with no more statues, they are no longer Rangers, powering down. Dr. Akana learns that her son is a Power Ranger and for some reason is surprised by this. After she goes all mama bear on Void Knight, threatening to end him and anyone he ever loved if he hurts Ollie, the fight resumes. Amelia really showed off her guts in this episode, first taking on Boom Tower one-on-one and now Void Knight. The Rangers are just barely holding their own against Void Knight and henchmen and realize they cannot keep this up without their powers. So Izzy leaps over and goes ham on the machine, distracting Void Knight so Ion can finally pull off this stupid take the capacitor plan. Except by take the capacitor, Ion interprets it as blowing up the capacitor. And the machine. And Void Knight. And Santora, actually, but for the record, I don't think any of the Rangers ever realized there was someone inside. But the fight isn't over. I mean, this fight is over, but not the fight. The Rangers know they don't have all of the Sporix, and even without their powers, agree to keep fighting. But if there is one lesson that this franchise has taught us time and time again, it's that agreeing to fight without powers is precisely how you get powers. The Green Morphin Master, the prima donna stage hog of the group apparently, shows up alone, once again, restoring the statues and the Rangers' powers.
That was easy.
At Area 62, we see that Santora has survived all this, her tank now just having some cracks in the glass. Void Knight's battle-scarred helmet lies discarded nearby. Let's balance the scales. Episode 21, Season 1 Story Finale, Void Trap. Pros, a lot of fun action and spectacle, features Dr. Akana prominently, and doesn't act that much like a finale, which it isn't. Cons, feels like just another episode, far too little story setup, and forces in a moral in the story finale. A lot of stuff happened, but a lot of stuff just happened. Void Trap gets 3.5 scales out of 5. I mean, this definitely had all of the elements of a finale. Lots of big, bombastic fights, a new Zord combination, the requisite Lost Our Powers Unmorphed fight. When I talk about the lack of build-up, that doesn't mean that this didn't feel like an endgame at all. All of the elements of a finale were there. Backhanded compliment explained in 5, 4. It's interesting to have so much focus on a side character in a finale, but Dr. Akana is practically the star of this episode. She handles everything really well, and seriously, that mama bear line of hers, she comes to the realization that this guy Void Knight has been trying to kill her son for insert incredibly confused timescape of season here. She is pissed. Maybe it's really that hell hath no fury like a mama scorned. Something that's kind of stuck in the back of my mind really since Dino Charge is how my fellow reviewer Japanime handles these 2 season stories. Which is to say, he kind of ignores the fact that they're 2 seasons altogether. For example, this is episode 21 of Dino Fury. The Christmas special next time is going to be episode 22. So for him, the premiere of next season is just going to be Dino Fury episode 23. And that's really how it feels like this episode was written. Much more of a mid-season finale, which is kind of a thing TV shows are doing lately, than an actual finale. We never get any sort of a hint at an ending, even with the Rangers. Their fight is going to continue. And that's kind of refreshing because in a lot of the post-Disney seasons 1, we did have that sense of fake finality. The problem is, this is written to feel kind of like a finale, and however it's written, it is actually a finale, and it just never felt like one. It lacked the gravity. It tried to have it with Void Knight making his move and the Rangers' lives on the line. The problem is what I've complained about several times over the course of this season. Void Knight's lack of an overarching plan. Gather the Sporix until further notice. And now that's right out the window because in this episode he was going after the Morphin Grid energy instead. If Void Knight had been after the Morphin Grid energy from the beginning and the Sporix were just a means to an end, it would have felt much less sudden. Hey, let's keep talking about that. I know this technically makes this one con instead of two, but hey, it's my show, right? There was just far too little story setup for this to be a satisfying finale. This is the end of a 2-part episode, and really not even that. A good finale should bring in threads from the entire season. This episode does not do that. This is just the mid-season finale, and I don't know, we might be getting a new villain after this, I guess? I have already acknowledged that Power Rangers, among its many other missions, has a mission of teaching morals to children. However, there are 2 episodes that should be free from that obligation. The first one and the last one. Those episodes should be free to just tell the show's story. Yes, letting people make their own decisions is an amazingly mature moral for Power Rangers, and Zordon knows that kids really need to learn that lesson right now more than any other time. I didn't mention it during either plot summary, I'm pretty sure, but after the Rangers have their Hamilton moment,
We won!
Ollie turns to Zato and does the apology scene thing about his mom. Nobody cares. It was a given that Ollie was wrong because it's his mother's life, but Ollie was right too because there was no reason to put her in danger in the first place. Just focus the finale on the Rangers apparently blowing Void Knight to heck. I'm kind of torn on how I feel about this, but this is really the first post-Disney Season 1 finale to not really feel at all like a finale. Part of that is intentional because it was clearly written more as a mid-season finale, but other aspects of the plot don't feel like this was ever written to be a finale-esque episode. Void Knight finishes a plan that he thought of last time. It was bombastic, but it lacked substance. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. That was weeks ago. Wrote this on December 29th. Now it's 2022. At the time, hadn't even filmed episode 19's review. Anyway, it is time once again for the annoyingly pedantic distinction between the end of Dino Fury's first season story and its actual final episode. The pressing question on every Ranger fan's mind, even though most of you have seen this episode already and know the answer, will we see Fresno Santa again? Let's find out by taking a peek at the actual final episode of Season 1, the 22nd episode of Power Rangers Dino Fury, Secret Santa. While the Rangers fight to get Santa's magic sketchbook back from the villains, Javi and Solon are caught in a trap. That was a weird voice. Anyway, Ranger Wiki calls this an epilogue to the first season, and I kind of like that term. It fits very neatly. Also, it lets me use this.
The epilogue!
And that is going to wrap up another Power Rangers Dino Fury episode review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. Now that the video's done, you can let me know what you thought of this episode, as well as my review of it, down in the comments below. While you're down there, make sure you smack that thumbs up button to let me know that you enjoyed this video. And if you'd like a way to financially support my channel, but don't want to do Patreon or Ko-fi, consider checking out my Teespring store and getting some sweet Orange Ranger merch. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to the Nearby doesn't make any sense. Not nearby Area 62. What did I say? Oh, he goes in, so anyway, yeah. At Area 62, Regal revives Boom Tower again, so we can use up more stock footage. The only problem is that Ollie does not steal the capacitor, and it's a lesson that kids could really stand to learn right now. Nobody cares! Ollie turns to Zato and does the apology scene thing. The apology scene thing.